Howdy, howdy. What you got for us, Matt? Tell us.
Well, this was a request by Dane, you Dane,
Yeah,
to make
damn
a
him.
magic salt shaker. Yeah, damn him. So this was my first one. I'd never made one before, but this is my first one. Okay. And what's magic about it? Well, it doesn't have any holes. So let me go over to this camera here. So there's no holes in the top, and all there is this in the bottom. And how it works is you just shake it. You all see the salt that's bouncing around there?
You sure
Uh-huh.
can. Look at that.
All right. So the thing works. This is the wood on this is an old piece of dry elm I had sitting around, and it has walnut oil as the finish on it. Okay, and there's no on the inside. Okay, so let's go to this. So these are the two pieces of this. So there is a cavity inside that holds the salt, and the little cone deal on the right side is the bit that goes inside that makes all the magic happen. Okay, so
All right.
whoops, let me go back here and go here. So my sources and examples, I did a lot of research on this, and Tomislav was offered some really great advice. And there's a really good video on from Alan Stratton. He calls his volcano salt urns, which is pretty good too. And so here are some of my notes on this. And Dane, of course. Dane sent me some of his process, and he is very precise and detailed. He measures a lot. I'm trying to simplify this a little bit. My demo is going to be a little bit closer to how Tomislav did his. So we'll wade into it. So it's turned in two pieces, and then it's friction fitted. So there's no glue in this. It's just I just banged it in with my shot mallet. Um, the inside is unfinished. I've tried to simplify this so it makes it makes it easy with the tools a lot of us have already. Um, and there are many ways to do this project. Some are more elaborate than others. And this is not the only way, and not necessarily the best way, but this is the way I do it. Okay.
Right on.
Questions so far on any of this? Okay, good. No questions makes things easy. So the first step is to body. And so I put a tenon on the top of the body, and I mounted it in a chuck, and then I formed the general shape of the base, and then I hollow it. And I'm going to use a 1 1/8 inch Forstner bit, just because that's what I have out. um, and then I'm going to make a little shoulder in that, and I'll show you how that works. Okay, so here's my piece. I think this is Bradford pear. And I've got a tenon on it already, and I've mounted it in the chuck, and that's not completely round yet. Any questions on this so far?
Nothing yet, Matt.
Okay, this side is going to be the bottom, and the top is going to be up here somewhere. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is get a good surface down here, and get most of this part here turned. And I'm not sure what kind of shape I'm going to do. Probably something similar to what I did on the first one I did. Okay.
Spin her up.
I'm going to try and round the bottom of this a little bit more than I did on the first one. This cut is a shearing cut. I've got the tool on the lathe like this, I'm cutting on the bottom flute, and I'm riding the bevel on that bottom flute. And it's basically a very, very shear cut that gives me a very clean surface. Let's see if I'm round. I actually forgot to get some things out of the way. So I got a little bit to go yet. I'm not round yet, so we'll make it spinner. All right, good enough. Let's make a very light finishing cut. Round it out a little bit more. Okay. Now, whenever you've got something between centers and you're going to go and take one of the centers off, it's always a good idea to tighten your chuck. So I'm going to tighten the chuck a little bit. And this wood is pretty dry, and you don't want to usually do this project with wet wood because wet wood moves, as we all know, and this is a friction fit, and it's kind of precise on what you do. So you want it to be fairly dry when you do it. All right. So I'm going to mount up the Forstner bit now. Questions so far? All right. Now, in order for this to work, your only real size thing on the inside, your size concern on the inside, is that the cone that goes in has got to be shorter than the actual cavity. Because if it's not, then it won't work. So this is my Forstner bit. Anybody have any questions on this?
Nothing yet, Matt.
All right. Thank you, Dane.
You're welcome.
Means my audio is working too.
Yes, yes. You're sounding a lot better. You were kind of scratchy in the beginning.
That's good. It's got new batteries in it. It should be working wonderfully. So I'm going to go down to about here.
What size are you drilling?
This is a 1 1/8 inch Forstner bit, and like one I did yesterday on my test piece. And I started out with some idea about being able to chuck it up on my pin jaws, but I'm going to use a jam chuck instead when I chuck this up to finish the top, just because it's simpler. It doesn't require extra jaws or anything. So remember to clear your chips regularly. All right, that's good enough. All right, now you want to avoid turner's elbow. So you take pointy things out of your tailstock before you do anything else. Now, one of the things to do here is I'm going to make this cavity inside a little bigger, okay? And there's a lot of different tools you can do with this, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to measure a 1/2 inch in. Suppose I could do a 1/4 inch. That's actually plenty, but we'll go a 1/2 inch. All right, so that's a 1/2 inch. And I'm going to mark the inside of that with my pencil so I can see it. And I'm going to mark it. Let's switch to this so you can see what I'm doing. Whoops. I got an echo here. Let me fix that, guys. I don't know. Can you guys hear that?
No, yeah, you're fine. There's no echo.
No, I didn't hear an echo.
Well, I do. And it's pissing me off. pisses me off. There we go.
Yeah,
Much better.
It would me too.
Okay. All right. So what I've done, and I don't know if can you see the line in there? Yeah, it does show. Okay. So I've
Yes.
got a line in there, and that's going to be this bit in here is going to be my shoulder. And I'm just going to take another tool here I have, and I'm going to increase the inside size of that a little bit. It doesn't have to be much. All it is going to be is there's going to be a little sort of a nub on the little cone I put in there. And it's going to sort of lock it in there when I push it in or pound it in. So the tool I'm going to use is a proprietary tool, but you can use any tool you've got to hollow this with. So I'm going to use this tool, which y'all have seen before. It's a 2-flute ball end mill inside a piece of round steel. And it's my favorite hollowing tool. It's the safest one I have. But you could use you could use a parting tool. You could use a square scraper.
Gouge.
You could use a carbide. Yep. You could use a gouge. I'm going to use
an
this
Allen
because it gives me a good clean surface on the inside. That's probably all I need to do. So questions on this is what I'm done right now.
Nothing in chat, Matt.
All right. Well, it's certainly open to the floor if anybody has anything else. So I got a little bit in there I got to clean up. Yeah, I can feel it. That's good. I'm going to scientific method. All right. Use my little sophisticated solution to do some sanding on the inside, which consists of the end of a Sharpie and a piece of rolled sandpaper. I know how much you guys like watching sanding.
Oh, I love it.
Sarcasm is dripping.
Yes, yes. You're picking up what I was laying down.
All right, that's decent. Okay, so let me switch back to the overhead camera. So one of the things, actually, let me switch back to here. So I've done step number 4 here. So number 3 and 4, I allowed a 1/4 inch to 1/2 inch deep shoulder, and then widen it a little bit above the shoulder. And then I'm going now here's to part this section off, finishing as much of the top before I do that. And I'm going to measure to be sure to not break into the hollowed interior. Okay. So that's an important piece of this. So I'm going to use my sophisticated measuring system here to mark my line there. That's the top. That's where I am on the inside. So that means that I can do anything I want in the section above it. Okay. So I'm going to clean up and then start playing games with the top here. Maybe I'll do another little onion sort of dome like I did on this one here. Okay. But I'm not ready to finish the absolute top yet. So I'm going to part it off and leave a little bit of extra to play with. Okay.
Okay.
So far, so good. Nothing really too complicated or tricky, right, Dane?
No, it's like falling off a log.
All right.
Grabber stick is still in its proper place, right, Matt?
Sure. We'll clean this up a little bit. Always cut downhill to avoid getting tear out. Okay, so I'm probably going to part this off like right about in here somewhere. But this little onion dome thing is kind of going to be flattened, and I want to make this, I like that it was shorter on the piece that I did earlier. So I'm going to make it a little shorter. All right, that's probably good for now. We can finish the rest of it up later. Make this better. All right, I'm going to sand. I usually start with 100 grit, which was wrapped up around that Sharpie. That one needs a little more work there. You know what? Let's switch to a detail gouge. All right, that's better. Know how much you guys love watching sanding. So I'll do as little of this as I possibly can get away with.
Oh, it's good filler. No, do it where needs to be done, Matt.
All
You
right.
got lots of time. You got lots of time to fill.
So I shouldn't rush. Is that what you're saying?
Um,
I could
roundabout
spend
words.
more time sanding.
There you go.
That's pretty, but let's come back and hit it with a little bit more here, a little slower. I can see a few sanding scratches. That's why I'm doing that. still see them. The heck, dude. All right, I'm going to cheat. So people say, how do you sand? Or what does power sanding on the lathe mean? Well, I used a simple corded drill, and I use these mandrels that I get from Klingspor's site. And they have foam. They have a little platform on them, and they have foam, and they have Velcro. And then I buy cloth back sand. Well, I don't know if it's cloth back, but it's sandpaper that will stick to the Velcro. So junk going on here. And I cut circles, and once I got the little template right, so I cut these little circles. It's 100 grit, that's 150, and so on. So I just cut them out on the, I was with shop scissors, and when they get too dull, I sharpen them, and when they get too dull after that, I buy inexpensive ones. So
That'll make short work of it.
indeed.
Hey, that's my saying.
Voila. Yep, voila, no more sand scratches. So I started that with 150. Now we're going to do 220. And I'm going to get my tool rest out of the way.
Now, how fast are you spinning the lathe, Matt?
Lathe is 335.
And why don't you spin it up to 1,000?
Because, it'll leave, because when you spin the lathe up, if your lathe is going fast, sandpaper is a tool. It leaves tool marks. So if
Yeah,
if the
burnish
lathe's
your
going
wood.
faster, it leaves tool marks faster.
Yeah.
So
It
that's why
runs
you
your
go slow when you're
sandpaper.
sanding. Yep.
It runs your sandpaper, and all it does is fold over the grain on the wood, and you're not sanding anything.
Yep. And if the lathe's going too fast, it doesn't do you any good to be sanding at all. It just leaves more scratches to get out.
Right.
It also heats up the backing that's connected to the Velcro and it won't stick anymore. Don't ask me how I know.
Right. and it will also create friction fractures in your wood from the excessive heat from sanding at high
Yep.
speeds.
And it reduces the life of the Velcro, and it reduces the life of how the Velcro sticks to the foam. And there's 1,000 other
Right.
reasons to not do it. So, yep. So
Diminishing
I have-
returns.
yeah, sorry, that camera's connected to my overhead thingy. So that's all nice and pretty. Okay. So questions on power sanding.
I think we
If you
covered
guys
them.
have been, if you guys have seen the shop tours, various shop tours we've done over the years in this club, let me go back here. I have a framework that I put over my lathe to hold my overhead light, and onto that framework, I have connected a number of different things, including a PVC drill holder. So that drill is right here in a little holder. And if you guys ever want to see that, I mean, I can show it, but it's extremely convenient. So there's 1,000 things that you can connect to a simple 2x4 light framework that's sitting over your lathe. So, okay, I'm now going to part this off about here. This leaves me a lot of extra wood to do the final cut on. I'm going to make a jam chuck on this remaining piece of wood, and then that jam chuck will become the bit that goes into the center, the little cone that goes into the center. So let's see where we are on the old PowerPoint note thing. We're on number 6 here, using jam chuck, complete the shaker body top. Okay. So, and because I can, I'm going to bring up tool stock support. I'm going to put a 60-degree cone in here to help support this. just so it doesn't go bouncing around the shop. And it's in there extremely light, just barely in there, holding it, keeping it from wobbling and so on. Now, one of the things that I teach in my beginning wood turning class is that if you're using a parting tool to part something off like this, you want to make sure that you leave a lot of room in there for the, that's just aesthetic, for the tool. Because if you just go in a single parting tool width wide, especially with the square ones like this, you'll bind the tool in the cut. And that's never fun. It could get hurt. There's a lot of things that could go wrong with that. So be safe. Use tool stock support as long as you can. Make your cuts wide enough. Okay, so here's where we are right now. I've got this little bit on the top to finish, and we're going to now make a jam chuck here. So I'm not sure exactly how big that's going to be. I mean, it should be roughly 1 1/8 inch thick because that's the size.
Oh, your mic is breaking up.
What's that?
Your mic is breaking up.
Let me see if this is any better. Is that any better?
Oh yeah, yeah, it is.
I moved it like 1/4 inch closer to my mouth.
Oh, okay.
So all I'm going to do here is not necessarily trust the 1 1/8 inch Forstner bit. And I'm going to use my pencil here to get an approximation of where that's going to be to this camera here.
Hey, Matt, before you get started, we have a question asking, why do you flip it as you part it off?
I'm sorry, why did I do what?
So Leonard has a question on why do you flip it as you part it off? I'm not
I didn't
following your
understand.
question. I don't
Yeah, what
understand
exactly do you
your question.
mean? Yeah, please feel free to open the mic and ask.
Leonard?
Not sure what you mean by that, Leonard.
So Matt, when you're parting it off, you're actually, it looks like you're going in, taking some off, coming back out, flipping your tool,
Oh,
going
I got
back
it.
in
Okay.
again.
So this part of the tool,
Yeah, your mic is breaking up, man. It's like it's disconnecting.
it shouldn't. Is that better, Dane?
That sounds better.
Right now it is.
Oh, geez. Okay. This parting tool was an experiment, and it's not. Let me show the back of this. I don't know if y'all can see that, but it's not.
Yeah.
It's not straight across. It's 15 degrees slanted one way. So when I flip it, I'm flipping where the sharp point is. Okay.
Got
So-
it.
Square cut.
Yeah. So what I'm doing when I do that, that's an excellent question. Thank you for that. So what I'm doing when I do that is I'm putting the sharp point in. Whoa. I'm sorry. I've had a series of glitches here today.
So basically, you're using it like it's a mini skew, and you're pointing the toe in to get a sharper cut on the.
I'm using it. I am using it as a parting tool, but because one side is sharper than the other, I get a cleaner cut on the side with the sharper end. Okay, it's like a leading little point. Yes. I mean, theoretically, it behaved if I was using a skew like a scraper. Okay. If that makes
more
sense.
like a peeling cut. That's more like a peeling cut with the skew.
Well, no, because I'm going straight at center with this.
Okay.
Okay.
So you're
All
not
right, I'm
coming-
going straight at
you're not
center.
coming down.
Right. I'm going straight at
Gotcha.
center with it. And then when I flip it around, I'm doing the wider, the wider part of the kerf. Okay. I'm doing this part of it when I flip it around to lead the point end. against this part of the wood, and then I flip it around to go back against the other side. Does that make sense?
Yes. Thank you.
Perfect for me.
Okay. Yeah, but that's why I was doing that, and I do it.
You're going to do that again on this next piece, right? You'll probably be doing the same thing.
Not necessarily, but I can show you other tricks with this tool. I'm going to use my normal parting tool to make my normal parting tool
Final
is
part.
just my normal parting tools is a basically a beading and parting tool, and I'm just going to use that to make the jam chuck piece of it. Okay. So what I've done here is I've sort of marked my inside here on this, but I'm not going to go all the way there. I'm going to sneak up on it. So I want the jam chuck to be tight. Okay. I love the way this wood smells. Now it's a jam chuck, so let's test it. I got a ways to go with that. I'm not taking a lot of wood here. And the jam chuck is slightly, that's close. A little bit more. All right. Now, Dane showed his mallet. So I was making gavels a while back, and I decided to up the dimensions. So,
Good gracious.
so I have a big shop mallet.
Thing's massive.
It is. It's 1.5 times the normal dimensions.
Uh-huh. When you need that big hammer, just grab it automatically.
Yeah, if
Well,
at first you don't succeed, get a bigger hammer.
Yep.
Yeah, and I kind of screwed up the handle a little bit when I made it the way it went in here. So anyway, but it's I use it. Started using it to pound in Christmas decorations and go to for everything. So okay, finishing the top of this. My eyes on. No.
Yeah.
That's okay. I can hold it. Yeah, I'm trying to. What's happening is I'm pulling it off with the cut. So I may end up doing some. Let's try. Let's try
Right,
this.
cutting towards the headstock.
Put a piece of paper
Well, I
towel in
could.
there.
That brings it off too. So I may. Let's see if I can do it. It's getting smaller.
Paper towel time.
Yeah.
One little
toilet
scrape
paper.
too many there, Matt, but it happens.
It burnished the inside of it. So
Mhm.
never a dull moment, right? It's a demo.
Right. Always in a demo.
Let me get the other tool here. I'm going to use this one.
Yes, I'm very experienced at this happening in demos too.
Well, I don't have much left to do.
Almost there.
Famous last words.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, it's good enough sanding.
Yeah, so we got a commenter saying, break out to 80 grit gallons. That'll take care of it.
I don't. So everything starts with 100 grit here. Now, one of the things I learned in the first one, because I sort of tested it before I took it off, is that you don't want this little point, if you do this way, you don't want this little point to be really sharp. Because that's is not happy making for somebody trying to use it as a salt shaker. Yeah, I'm going to go to.
It's pretty pointy to me.
And I'm not putting a lot of pressure on this. I'm trying to, delicately not pull it off of the lathe while I'm doing this.
Just trying to caress it. Give it a little bit of fine love.
So that's good. I like that. So far, let me go over here. Okay, so there's a little salt shaker, right? Okay. Now, the next step is to turn this into the little cone that goes inside. So we're going to switch back here and go to my next page, which said interior cone using the jam chuck. Now we know that this is not quite the right size. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get close to it and make it just slightly larger. And then we'll retrofit it. Okay. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a little cone on the X. So that's this little cone, this little conical section in here. Okay, this is a cone, and then I'm going to drill the hole. And I'm going to use an 1/8 inch drill bit to drill the hole. And there's various and sundry differences. People disagree about what size that hole should be. You want more stuff to come out faster, you make the hole bigger. It's really pretty basic. Okay? Questions on that?
How do you get the plug out when you need to add salt?
You don't. Dane makes his so he
Oh.
can pull the plug out. This one, the reason why this top section is conical is because you take your salt and you
I
put it
gotcha.
in a little cone.
Yeah, it came to me as I was asking the question.
Okay.
Cool.
All right. So we're
I'll show
gonna make
mine on
this.
that.
Yeah, yeah. I know you make it a little different, Dane. I think we'd all like to see it.
Yeah.
I know I would like to see it. Because
I
Dane
sent
and
you
I have.
pictures.
What's that?
I sent you pictures.
Well, you sent me. You didn't. You sent me pictures of your process in text form, right?
Well, I did that. I also sent the finished product. That's all right.
Yeah. Okay. We'll take a look at it anyway. I'm looking forward
Yeah.
to it, Dane. Okay. I'm going to make this. Let's zoom in here a little bit so you can see it a little better. I'm going to make this a little bit bigger than the existing jam chuck because I know it's a little loose, and I don't want it that loose. I want it to be friction fitted. Okay. No. Okay.
If you're talking, we didn't hear any of that, Matt.
Why not?
We don't know.
There was nothing.
Yeah, if you were talking when you were pointing at the jam chuck residual tin in there, we didn't hear anything.
Right.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. I don't know why. I did an update yesterday on my Windows and it installed Microsoft Edge against my wishes. And
boy.
had crap popping up tonight during the demo. So what I'm going to do, I know that this jam chuck is a little too big to fit perfectly snugly. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make inside here, and I'm going to take this off. So I'm going to take it down till it's almost this thick, and then I'm going to take this bit off, and we'll start from there. Okay?
Gotcha.
That's what I said. All right. Eyes on, get my face shield on. Hopefully y'all can hear me.
Yes, we can hear you.
Good. Fine tune it, parting tool. Switch to this camera. Y'all can see what I'm doing. Okay, now I know that this is a little too small, so this is going away. So I got a little extra room in there. All right. It's a little too big. That's fine. Big.
Just a little bit.
Yep, just a smidge. Now, it was kind of fun doing the practice one for this because it was perfect. I didn't have
Always
to do
is.
this at all.
Never fails.
Didn't come off of the jam chuck while I was turning the top.
Right? And it's never on video.
Well, you guys get to see me be creative with how to do this, so
Uh-huh.
making it work, right?
That's the beauty of what we do every week.
Now, I'm literally taking a dusting with this, and I've got the tool, my parting tool slanted a little bit. It's almost there. Okay. So the tool is straight on, it's slanted a little bit, which gives me a lighter cut. Okay, that's perfect. All right. So I now have to I'm going to make the outer cone here in this end. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to use, and I could use any number of tools to do this, but I'm going to use a small deep fluted bowl gouge to do it. I could do it with a skew. Move my tailstock out of the way. Okay, and let's pick up the skew here and make a dimple in the middle. The reason I'm doing that is for the drill bit, which is next. So I'll pull the tool out of the way. Bring in the Forstner bit. Well, take the Forstner bit out of the drill. Jacob's chuck.
Yeah, that,
The
that'd allow
1/8
a lot of salt to go in. Yeah, use that forcing bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, that,
And a lot of salt to come out and defeat the entire purpose of the whole exercise.
yeah. So what size you drilling with? 1/8?
This is a 1/8 inch bit, and I know you use a 3/32 stain. So, like I say, there are every one of us will do this. Um, clear your chips regularly. Let the drill bit do the work.
How fast are you drilling that?
Well, I usually drill a lot faster, but this is at like 520 or so. On the first one, and I was using the first one I did was it was a piece of elm that was old and punky, and the drill bit wandered. So I'm trying to let the drill do a little more of the work, go a little slower here. If you follow me?
Yes.
Okay. So that's as far as I need to be in there now.
How far up did you drill?
As far as the drill bit, I don't know how far it is. It's further than it needs to be. It's 1 3/4, 1 7/8 inches. So inside here, though, my cavity inside is only that deep. So my next step, and it's probably here in my document, is measure the interior of the shaker body, step number 3, and subtract at least 1/4 inch to 1/2 inch, and this becomes the cone height. Okay, so I'm going to go here to this camera, and I'm going to use my calipers to measure how deep the body is. Oops, my thumb's in the way. Sorry. So that's how deep my body is. Okay. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to say that's like 1 3/4 inches. So I'm going to subtract about a I don't know, 3/8 of an inch or so and lock it in. All right. So that this becomes my cone height, and that's from the base of the cone. So that set it up. That's about, and I'll measure again, but that's about right there. Okay. So that's that's all the taller my cone is going to be. Okay. Does everybody understand that?
Looks like it. No questions.
Okay. All right. So one of the other games I'm going to play here when I turn this is I'm going to leave a little bit of a lip on the on where this shoulder ends. So what's going to happen is when I push this in, that lip is going to sort of cover up the little gap at the top. Okay. Ever so slightly larger than the rest of the piece. Yeah. I don't need all the rest of this stuff. So that my mark was here, okay? Now, before I forget, sand the exterior cone. Do that before, while the piece is still on the lathe. Because you won't be able to once it comes off. You'll have to do it by hand. Okay? Questions on that?
No.
Right. All right. Good enough. All right, now let's measure this. What do I do with that? All right, I can go a little deeper, and I'm going to. I'm going to switch tools to my detail gouge. Okay. Now, it's probably a little too thick there. Let's trim this down a little bit. What I'm going to do is trim this this little ridge here down a little bit. Now, I'm going to sand. Now remember, there's no finishing on the inside here. You don't want salt sticking to stuff. Starting with 220. Also 220. And now I'm going to part it off. Now I'm going to use my thin curve parting tool. Now, there's the top of it. There's the bottom. Okay. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to come back here, see if I can find the tool. Don't know what I did with it. May have to use a bigger one. There it is. I've got here is a chamfer bit. Okay. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to come into this little hole and make it a little cone. Well, it cleans the top of that. And it allows it to gather more salt when you're shaking it. Okay? Make sense? Because what's happening on the side of this is that the salt's bouncing around in there, and you want it to go in the hole. All right. Question so
Got a
far.
camera view. Got a camera view.
Yep. Question so far.
Nothing in chat.
All right. So now all I'm going to do, and I hope this works, is put it in here and use my big ass mallet to pound it in. All right. And we're good to go. And if you need to, you can sand off the bottom a little bit. And finish the outside. The black line that you see there is from the burn mark from when I put it on when I was testing it, you know, for size. So it's probably best not to do that. All right. So let's see if I've got anything.
Detail.
Yep. So shape the interior of the cone, step number 4, part the cone off at the height measured, step number 3 above, and use a chamfer bit to slightly widen the hole in the interior cone and assemble it to the shaker body mallet. All right. So the question, of course, comes next is, does it work?
Of course it does.
Well, we're going to test it. So I'm going to put a little bit of salt in here. Not dump my salt in the floor of my shop. Get it down in there. All right. And we're going to restore my little piece of black paper here. All right. And it works. See the salt?
Oh,
Okay.
Well done, Matt.
Very clever idea.
Hey, Matt. Hey, Matt.
Thank you, Matt.
That was very enjoyable.
that's cool,
Good.
Matt. Do you not finish the outside?
Yeah, I do finish the outside, but you can put salt on the inside and finish it still because the salt's on the inside.
Okay.
So Yeah, this other one here that I did yesterday or this morning, actually, I did it this morning. I thought about it yesterday. It's got walnut oil on it. Dane, I think, uses Parfix.
Yeah.
Other people, yeah, it doesn't matter what you finish it, you know.
Don't matter if you
It's
finish on the outside.
Yep. So salt
There you
shakers
go.
times 2.
Awesome.
Very cute idea.
So one can be salt, one can be pepper. You can also, do it for various, fine spices.
Yes.
It's a neat little thing. It's a great party favor, especially with the holidays coming up. Make it. If you're hosting, you can give them out as gifts to your folks that are coming over, or if you're going someplace and being hosted, make a set and give to the hosting party. It's a
Yeah.
real neat little thing.
And there's a lot of different ways. I mean, I just did these tops because I like the way these look. Okay. So, and these are just, this is the one I turned out of the elm, and this is the one out of the Bradford pear that I just turned right now. Okay. So you don't have to do it this way. Alan Stratton made snowmen and put a black hat on the pepper and a white hat on the salt. There's a lot of different ways to do, well, maybe not. Maybe it wasn't Alan Stratton who did that. Maybe it was Mike Peace who did that. But the way that Tomislav does the tops of his is way different than what I did. And Alan Stratton made these volcanoes, which is just basically a big cone that looks like a volcano or a mountain of some kind. So there's a lot of different, this section of the piece is completely.
We just lost your mic.
Why
Lost
that
you
is
at
happening.
this section of the piece is.
Well, it's completely open to interpretation. Can you hear me, Dane?
Yeah.
Yeah, we got you.
Okay. It's completely,
okay.
you can do anything you want with it. So it's, it's, like I said, there's a lot of different ways that people turn these.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I have a dumb question.
Go ahead.
I live for dumb questions.
Well, it gets rather humid down here, and traditional salt shakers have a tendency the salt gets kind of
Yeah.
Using this method with that one little tiny hole in the bottom, and the fact that the wood is going to absorb some of the moisture, it almost makes you wonder if it would help keep the salt drier with a salt shaker of that nature. Has anybody got any experience with that?
I have never experienced salt or any of the other spices that are used out here in Tucson. In the summer months, we're sitting in soup, humidity as well, and I've never experienced the salt bonding to itself. So real quick, I'll show mine. This is what started it all.
Thanks,
Right
Sue.
Hey,
Thank you, everybody.
Cool. Great demo.
Thanks,
Great
man.
demo, Matt.
Matt, that was very enjoyable.
Matt.
Very enjoyable.
And so, like I said, you can make the outside bodies, whatever shape you want. And for me, I'll leave a little dimple to make it look like there's that's where you're going to turn it upside down and shake it. And so I'll do 1 dot for pepper and 2 dots for salt. That way, when you're on the table, you know which one you're grabbing. And then so like for mine, the inside for my cone, it's conical, got the same shape, but it's also hollowed out to where you can get your finger in it. And I've got a slight bead and I got a slight recess on the inside here, and that's what matches. And so, yeah, you can pour your salt or your spice in through the main hole and sit there and shake it, but you're only going to be able to get so much in there. You just pull it out, fill it up a little bit, and then you can mash the cone down inside. And once it snaps in, it ain't going anywhere. You shake it up inside down, and it comes through the top of the hole and out the bottom. But,
Very cool idea.
Like I said,
Cool.
it's a unique it's a neat little party favor, and you can make it out of the little blocks of wood that you have laying around on the floor. So I thought it'd be a good idea. Matt asked, what I'd like to see done. I always try to get the demonstrators to do something different, a different skill builder or whatever. And I'd written up the process on how to do this. I still got to massage it. I'll put it in. I'll get it massaged and dressed down a little bit for the newsletter, and get that submitted to JJ to put in here in the next couple issues. So
Yeah, Brent.
Anyhow.
Mine is a friction fit, and there is a little nub on the above the shoulder that is a little bit wider than the bit that fits on the shoulder. So it's that's why I hollowed it out a little bit inside, and it sort of locks in there. It's not going to come out. So
And
I
then
made
you wanna-
there's a little sort of ridge above the shoulder.
Right. And then for your inside cavity, you want to have it hollowed out more. That way it holds more whatever spice that you're going to put in there. That way you're not constantly refilling it. So
Yep, and it leaves more room for the salt to bounce around and find the hole
Yes.
inside too. So yep.
for sure.
You could drill fake holes in the top.
Yeah, you sure can. But that's what I was,
True.
well, that's what I was
But
saying at
let's-
the top,
That's mean.
you put a couple holes, so you can identify, which shaker is pepper and which one is salt. If one hole is for salt,
Want to show you a thing
or
that you
two little dot holes is for pepper, then you know which shaker you're grabbing.
Huh?
Yeah.
But
yeah.
that defeats the whole purpose of having a no hole magic salt shaker, though.
Well, other than the fact that they pick it up and nothing comes out.
That's true. I mean, you're
on
right
it,
about
and
that.
then so
Yeah, that'd be interesting.
it's real comical. The first time it's used on the dinner table.
Hey, Matt, that was a very enjoyable evening. Believe me.